Hi, and welcome to another episode of DC's Media Drop. I'm your host, Terry DC, and this episode is a special edition for the QUT Media Manipulation Competition. Thanks to the rise of social media and the prolific use of mobile phones, we can be bombarded with news on legitimate news sites as well as on social media apps like TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. As we are scrolling, sometimes mindlessly, it can take a lot of brain power to think critically about the daily dose of news dished up on our screens. But this is where they get us. When we're at our weakest, this is when we should be at our most vigilant, because gone are the days when the news is delivered without bias and with honourable intent. Gone are the days when we can trust what we are hearing or seeing. Between emotive language and images, skewed statistics, fake news, hoax stories and alternative facts, we are bombarded with news that requires us to engage in critical thought. Often, we need to drill down and find impartial facts. We have to decide, are we puppets or critical consumers? Right or wrong, it is my opinion that media today is manipulative and can lead to great harm being inflicted to many people's reputations, businesses, political aspirations, and even access to a fair trial in a court of law. There's no denying it. Media is a weapon that can be wielded to inflict great harm. In this episode, we will forensically examine the headlines, lead sentences, body text and images that have been used in an attempt to manipulate our thoughts and emotions about Martin Bryant and the mass shooting he carried out at Port Arthur at the end of April in 1996. 35 people were killed and a further 18 injured in the worst mass killing on Australian soil since the frontier wars of the 1850s. The first article being analysed is by Marianne Whittaker and is titled Alleged Gunman Under Police Guard at Hobart Royal. The second article is Crazed Gunman Terrorises Port Arthur by Hector Frangelico. Both articles appeared online on April 30, 1996. Bryant was subsequently found guilty and sentenced to 35 life sentences, which he is continuing to serve in Risdon Prison in Tasmania. Now, let's turn our attention to the headlines of these two news pieces. Headlines are almost always the first thing we notice in news stories. They appear at the top of the article in large font, and they tell us what the following story is about. But even in the headline, there can be bias lurking, priming us to feel shock, anger and outrage. Let's look at Whittaker's and Frangelico's headlines side by side. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to see that Crazed Gunman's headline is incredibly biased. The words crazed gunman and terrorises create sensationalism and encourage us to read further. On the other hand, Whittaker's alleged gunman is leaving room for the idea that Martin Bryant has been accused of the crime but has not been found guilty yet. Already, Hector Frangelico is priming us to feel fear and shock, and we haven't even read the article yet. Frangelico's work is manipulative and potentially harmful. Another area where we see that bias evident is in the lead sentences. The lead sentences are the first brief paragraph of a story which tells us who, where and when in the story. Let's look at the lead sentences of Whittaker and Frangelico side by side. Whittaker makes quite an effort to report dispassionately and in a neutral tone, just reporting the facts. She writes, 35 people have been killed and a further 18 injured in a mass shooting at Port Arthur, a heritage-listed tourist destination in Tasmania. She tells us the body count and the location of the shooting. In contrast, the creator of Crazed Gunman continues his sensationalist approach when he writes, a crazed gunman has slaughtered 35 innocent people and wounded 18 in a terrifying spree shooting at Port Arthur in Tasmania. No one could miss the bias in the reporting. Crazed gunman slaughtered 35 innocent people and terrifying spree are examples of emotive language used to manipulate our perceptions of the incident. Again, Frangelico leads us, almost by the nose, with his lead sentences. Frangelico's emotionally charged tirade continues in the body text. The rest of the article contains references where he refers to the shooting as a madman's rampage and Bryant as an indiscriminate shooter who brutally massacred the victims. Bias much? Yep, you betcha. Alternatively, Whittaker continues her neutral reporting of facts, stating he is then alleged to have opened fire on tourist and hospitality workers at a number of locations. When compared, these images are like chalk and cheese, aren't they? The article with the potential to harm is Frangelico's. The cherry on top of these articles is the images that have been selected. In keeping with the theme of an insane killer, the author of Crazed Gunman has deliberately chosen an image which shows a representation of Bryant as a dangerous, deranged person. A still from a video, Bryant is shown with wildly staring eyes and hair in wild disarray. The caption underneath says, "Crazed shooter Martin Bryant is under police guard at Hobart Royal." It is easy for readers to believe that Bryant is insane, but is he? While there has been speculation that Martin Bryant suffers from schizophrenia, there is no evidence that he was being treated for this serious and debilitating psychiatric condition at the time of the shooting. The danger of Hector Frangelico's reporting like this is that Bryant's defence team could have argued that at the time of the mass shooting, Bryant was not legally sane and could have avoided going to trial at all. Indeed, in 2006, Bryant was transferred to a secure psychiatric wing at Risdon Prison, an act which has reportedly devastated families and friends of Bryant's victims. It is likely that articles such as Frangelico's could have given Bryant's legal representatives the fuel needed to bring about that transfer. The biased and quite irresponsible reporting could also influence potential jurors, which would derail the prosecution's goal to see Bryant get a fair trial. In fact, some news outlets were criticised by the Tasmanian Department of Prosecutions for polluting the juror pool with their heavily biased and accusatory reporting. By comparison, the image used by author of alleged gunman shows a well-groomed, very ordinary-looking young man. Even though he's not smiling, he looks calm and relaxed in the photograph as he sits on a step outside a house. The image choice in Whittaker's article may have readers wondering how someone so vanilla, so ordinary, could have committed this heinous crime. There is truth in that though. Killers don't have two heads or come with a sign telling us they're killers. They look just as ordinary as you and me. The heavy and pronounced bias of Frangelico's reporting is clear when we see these two news pieces side by side, isn't it? In a nutshell, Frangelico's Crazed Gunman article is evidence of how dangerous and damaging biased news reporting can be. From the headline to the image, his work is emotionally charged and manipulative. This makes it harmful to the public. Frangelico's work, combined with the words of other reporters of the same ilk, has had the potential to derail the criminal trial of Bryant by contributing to the argument that he is not guilty by reason of mental defect. Thankfully, this did not happen in '96. But you have to wonder, was it articles like this that set the groundwork for him being transferred to a psychiatric wing 20 years into his sentence? We can only speculate. Well, that's it from us here at DC's Media Drop. I'm your host, Terry DC. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I think it shows how important it is for us to be aware of bias, misreporting and manipulation in the news. Make sure you have your thinking hats on when you're keeping up with current news and events.